Chapter 14, Felix Felucis. Um, the gang, Ron, Hermione, and Harry, were discussing what Harry saw in Dumbledore's memories. And Ron just found it interesting because like he doesn't know what Dumbledore really is doing with all these memories and like what how it's supposed to help Harry. And Hermione found it fascinating on the other hand because um, then you really find out possibly what Voldemort's weakness is, or a weakness could be. And I agree with Hermione in this part because it would be good to learn about his past so you know maybe things that could hurt him in the future. And as they went on to talk about this, and they were in their herbology class trying to wrestle a very dangerous plant, um, Harry seemed to notice some things between Ron and Hermione, and that caused him to really look back on their relationship together. Like he kind of compared it a little bit to him and Cho, um, because they had some falling outs over the years, especially in the third year, Prisoner of Azkaban, and he just in his own mind, he's like, I'm just gonna pay attention to them too because they have been a little, flirty, and they were talking about Slughorn's Christmas party. Every time they bring up Slughorn, Ron gets feels a little type of way because Slughorn doesn't see Ron as something special, even though he sees Ginny as something special. So then Hermione says that Slughorn was going to allow plus ones, and Harry is not going to be able to wriggle his way out of going to this party, so he's going to end up having to go. But Hermione's like, I was going to invite you, Ron, because Ron had made a comment before about maybe Hermione hooking up with one of the other guys. And Hermione was like, actually, I was going to invite you. And then that caused a great deal of awkwardness, which Harry was kind of sitting there like looking back between them. And he was trying to do his work and kind of listening to what they were talking about. So yeah, it caused Harry to really look back on their relationship. And he's like, I never really thought of them as a couple before, but he's starting to see it. Like he's starting to see the signs of Ron and Hermione being together, possibly. On the flip side, as they were talking about this, he ends up running into. He's spent more time with Ginny and Ron, obviously, because of Quidditch practice. And Harry does need to replace Katie because she's still in the hospital and she's the other person on the Quidditch team. So then he has Dean, who was probably the other best flyer, um, but he didn't want to do it in front of Seamus because Seamus also tried out for the team and didn't make it because Dean did a little better than him. Dean also happens to be dating Ginny, and he has Dean. Dean obviously says yes, so Dean joins Quidditch team. They have practice. Doesn't go too well, and Ginny and Ron get into it a little bit because Ron ended up punching one of the other people on the team, and Ron is really holding the team back. It looks like in the practices, and Harry's worried a little bit. Everyone else seems kind of worried as well. So then they go back to Gryffindor. They're going back to Gryffindor, and they run into Ginny and Dean making out. Obviously, Ron gets angry because he's brother, but Harry on the flip side wasn't angry because of like that, but he was more wishing that it was him that was kissing Ginny. And those feelings caught him off guard because he's like, whoa, 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 why am I feeling like that? So then he's questioning why he's feeling like that. And he sees himself starting to see Ginny in a different light. Um, and he's really trying to see why he's having those feelings about her. And he just keeps thinking about her. Now, at that point, he just keeps thinking about Ginny, Like he wanted to be the one doing that with her, and he wanted to put a spell on Dean. But yeah, so he's starting to catch feelings for Ginny, and he's starting to really realize that. And on the flip side, Ron and Hermione having their bout. Um, Ginny and Ron said a lot of hurtful things to each other, especially Ginny. She called Ron out on the fact that maybe he's feeling like this because he hasn't kissed anybody. Like even Harry's kissed somebody, he's kissed Cho. Hermione, he brought up, or Ginny brought up Hermione kissing Victor, and that really set Ron off. He launched a little bit of um, sparks at her, and that really set Ron off. And then Harry can't stop thinking about Ginny after that. And then it comes time for the first Quidditch match against Slytherin, and Harry's trying to think of what he can do to help Ron because Ron's nerves are really the only thing holding him back from being great. And then he thinks of the potion, the luck potion, and he goes and slips it into Ron's drink. And without him knowing, Hermione clocks it and was like, Harry, you can't do that. That's illegal. And but she doesn't go farther than that. She just said that's illegal, that's bad. And then Ron just takes it and drinks it. And then when they're getting changed, Ron realizes, you put the luck potion in my drink, didn't you? And Harry doesn't answer him but smiles. And they go on to the Quidditch match. And Ron just starts off going crazy. He's blocking everything. And Gryffindor is scoring and scoring and scoring and scoring and scoring. Um, and then Harry ends up catching the snitch, and they win because it was close. It was close, but they won. And then they have their party, and then Hermione comes into the changing room later because Harry and Ron were the last ones in there. Says, "Can I have a word with you? Why'd you do that? That was illegal, Harry." And Harry was like, "I didn't do anything." Because Harry um, shows them that he didn't put the potion in Ron's drink at all, but just faked like he was, just to make Ron feel like he drank the luck potion. And since everything was going their way, like Malfoy didn't even compete in this, and like Slytherin's best person wasn't even in the game either. So everything just felt like it was going their way. And then with this, um, Harry thought it was going to go well, but then Hermione pointed out the fact that um, that she believed that Ron needed the luck because she didn't feel like he could compete well without it. That hurt Ron's feelings, so then I feel like that drifted them further apart. And then at the party, they didn't help as well. Um, Harry was there. He had seen Ron. He's making out with Lavender, Lavender Brown, who has been talking to Ron like all year so far, and he's making out with her. Hermione manages to see it. Ginny sees it. Um, Harry has a little moment with Ginny, but quickly dismisses it, and it was just like a hug. It's nothing crazy. And then he sees Hermione duck off out of the Gryffindor hall. So he follows her, and she's in the room just on her own. And in come Ron and Lavender, giggling. They come in the room as well because Ron was looking for Harry, and Hermione happened to be there. Lavender leaves, and Harry senses the tension in the room. Hermione launches a spell at Ron, and then she leaves crying.